and welcome back to the channel. And we will just get right into this one. Turkey, one of the teams out of Europe that were expected to do extremely well in this World Cup, are eliminated. And they are eliminated with still one round of games to go. They lost this evening to Paraguay a goal to nil, and the Turks are out of the World Cup. They will just be honoring their last fixture, which will be against the United States. But for all intents and purposes, Turkey's World Cup is over. There is no way they can make it to the round of 32 in their current position. And let's look at this game. Turkey started out with a few changes from their team that lost to Australia. They started with Kakar in goal, Demiral, Badarsi, Kadiolo, and Mulder. He came in for Zeliselik. Captain Kalanalo, they brought in Yusek for Okan. Arda Gula started. They brought in Akon for Okan Kokai, and the Yildiz came in for Baris Yilmaz, and of course Aterkolu up front. The Paraguayans started with Gil, Alonso, Aldarete, Gustavo Gomez, Casires, Miguel Almiron, Cubas, Diego Gomez, Galarza, Enciso, and Peter. And this game got off to a rollicking start. After only 64 seconds, Mateus Galarza found the back of the net, and just like that, Paraguay were 1-0 up. In the first 4 minutes was probably the most exciting 4 minutes. The goal was the fastest goal scored at this World Cup. And Galarza not only scored in the 64th second, but by the fourth minute he was also on a yellow card for a very rough tackle on Yunis Akon. But that was the first 4 minutes, and the game went on. It was fairly balanced up until the corporate hydration break, and after that, it was all Turkey. The Turks took over this game. They were pushing, they knew what it would have meant if they lost this game. So they were pushing for the entirety of it. And that and the first half pretty much came to an end with Miguel Almiron being sent off and Paraguay being brought down to 10 men. And again, we saw another one of these new FIFA rules being implemented for the very first time. There was a scuffle at the end of the first half, just before the break. Miguel Almiron covered his mouth while speaking to one of the Turkish players. It was caught on VAR, and the referee was told to have a look at it. After reviewing it, he realized Almiron had broken one of these new FIFA rules, and he was duly shown the red card, sent off. Paraguay down to 10 men with an entire half to play. At that point, we would have thought that, okay, the Turks are going to get back in it. Well, they did try. And when I say they did try, I mean they did try. In the first half, we look at the first half stats. Turkey, 78% possession, 12 shots on goal, compared to Paraguay's 4. But of their 12 shots on goal, only one was on target. And they really didn't create any big chances. They had 5 corner kicks, but that was about it. They had all this possession, but it was not being made to pay off. And the second half stats were even better for them. They had 80% possession in the second half, 20 shots on goal, but only 4 shots on target. They created 3 big chances, had another 7 corner kicks. Overall, they dominated this game. The match stats showed them with 79% possession, 32 shots on goal, and that's compared to Paraguay's 21% possession and their 7 shots on goal. But as I've often said, possession does not win matches, and Paraguay showed again that possession does not win matches. You have to score goals. You have to get that ball into the back of the net. Turkey came here with a bunch of well known players. And I did a review of this Turkey team prior to the World Cup, and you can go back on the channel and see that. As a matter of fact, I will put that video in the description below. But I spoke about Turkey, I spoke about the quality of the team they were bringing here. Players such as Arda Guler, Colonalo, uh, Yildiz from Juventus. They brought a quality team, players playing in Europe's biggest leagues. But set that aside, Turkey's history at the World Cup has been very poor. They have qualified for the World Cup on 3 occasions, and they have taken very long stretches in between qualification. So, at the rate they qualify for the World Cup, this is Turkey's first World Cup appearance since 2002. And prior to that, their previous World Cup appearance was in 1954. And they have not done well. In 2002, they had made it all the way to the semifinals. But outside of that, they have not done well. They have not done well in qualifying for the World Cup. So based on this trajectory, Turkey is not expected to qualify for the World Cup again for another 20 years at least. Not, and with this generation of talent, it is a huge disappointment for them to be going out of the World Cup at this stage. And a World Cup of this nature that will allow so many teams, from the 48 teams, 32 of these teams are going to make it through to the second round. And this talented Turkish team, with one of the brightest young stars in world football, Arda Güler, is not going to make it to the second round of the World Cup. And that, in and of itself, is a huge disappointment. And I don't think it's disappointing for Turkish football alone. It is a huge disappointment for European football. And it just goes to show that the balance of power in global football is shifting. It may be shifting slowly, but it is shifting. We have not seen this demolition of some of these lesser known teams than that was expected. They have been holding their own. They have been showing that if you play to a certain system, if you play to a certain tactical philosophy, you can match up with these bigger teams. And I think the Turks probably came into this group. They saw Paraguay on paper, they saw Australia on paper, they saw the United States on paper before playing a game, and figured that they had it made. They were going to get through to the second round no matter what. But you have to play the games. And they found that out against Australia. And unfortunately, they found it out again against Paraguay. And they are now done. And to consider that with all the attacking talent that they brought to this World Cup, they have played 2 games and they are still scoreless. They have not been able to find the back of the net. With all the possession, with all the shots, this Turkish team has disappointed majorly. And I'm sure Turkish fans the world over will be in distress, because they did come into this tournament on a high. But again, you have to play the games, you have to respect the opponents, you have to get it right on the big stage. Big names don't matter if you can't get it right when it matters. And the Turks were just not able to get it right when it matters, and as a result, they will only be honoring the rest of their fixture, which is their last game against the US, and then they'll be hopping on a plane back home to Istanbul. And for that, and with that, we say have a good one. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next one.